Now, Julio Ricardo Varela is a Puerto Rican journalist based in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you for joining us here on BBC News. I know communications back home are incredibly difficult, but what are you hearing?
Yeah, that's true, Duncan. First of all, about half the island is still, there's no communication. But what I've heard is this is the worst storm in the history of modern Puerto Rico. Because we don't know what is happening on half of the island where there is no communication, the indications that I've heard talking with people on the ground is that this could be even worse than what we're talking about right now. So even the evacuation that's happening around the dam, we're hearing reports. There was just a Facebook report out of the town of Orocovis that has no communication, that people are walking around with a dead person for 3 days, and people they're lacking food and they're at the point of dying. So sadly, the sense is that this is far from over. There was rain even today in Puerto Rico, and half the island, no one knows what's going on.
Julio, we've had a number of these storms and hurricanes over the last few weeks with big emergency responses. What do you make of the response to this one, to your homeland?
That's a great question, Duncan. We're still processing. It's hard to be a journalist and also to be a human when you come from your homeland. I've heard some stories telling me people that are, I've talked to people that have literally broken down on the phone and are just mentally exhausted and just exasperated. Early indications is that the Puerto Rican community in the mainland of the United States, of which there are more people, actually more Puerto Ricans live in the United States, in the mainland United States, than they do in Puerto Rico, that people are rallying. The bigger question is, what's the federal government going to do? You mentioned the federal aid that President Trump has given, but we're talking major relief. We're talking, on the levels of a Hurricane Harvey that happened in Texas. There's going to be billions and billions of dollars that need to get put back into Puerto Rico because, as you all know, or people that are following the Puerto Rican debt crisis, there's no money. There is no money on the island. So to imagine that the island alone can recover that is just a pipe dream. And the federal government, the U.S. federal government, is going to have to step up, put its politics aside, and really commit to saving Puerto Rico.
Yes, it's interesting because I have seen now a number of people raising the Puerto Rican economic situation before the hurricane, almost a sense that in some ways the country wasn't prepared because of a lack of investment. Is that a view that you agree with?
Yes, I mean, one of the things that people don't understand, there was only $15 million put aside for Hurricane Irma, and that's pretty much all gone in terms of hurricane preparedness because the government has no money. And even where the fiscal control board, there's a fiscal control board that literally controls Puerto Rico's economy right now through the United States, and they designated $1 billion to the relief aid for Maria, but that is just $1 billion that comes from, one column in the ledger to another. So there is no money in Puerto Rico. And showing the lack of preparedness, there's a lot of questions of the fact that a lot of these towns, because they lacked funding to prepare for all these hurricanes, that they weren't ready for this. So the damage that is being caused from Maria it's a humanitarian crisis that goes beyond just money. And the United States government and President Trump and his administration, even though that there are early indications that he did tweet that he wants to save Puerto Rico, this is going to be a serious, serious conversation about how committed the United States is going to be with its territory of 3 million American citizens.
Okay, Julio, we do appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Do stay with us here on BBC.